Here is why you must have higher education. I have noticed so many irregularities recently, as I am currently in a situation where I can obtain people's state and well-being. As I have done many things in the past as a means of sustaining myself, it is common for anyone like me to witness some people who are just in trouble and will be more in the future. I get it that you are not understanding what I am trying to tell you. Actually, it is all about education, particularly higher education. This is going to be a pretty long paragraph as there is so much to cover. But do not worry. Everything that this video's title can mean will be discussed here. Let's start with why this type of thought came to my mind. It is in 2015 when I was privileged to take a governmental course that was on the subject of basic website designing and maintenance, online database management, as well as freelancing and outsourcing. Its duration was almost 7 months, and I met numerous personalities at that time. As you can guess, I was in my 10th grade, and as a student in the science unit, I always thought that I am well capable at my job and I can beat anyone in the competition. I was young and amateur. Thus it was not good to pretend as such, although I changed myself quickly. So, since then, I still do freelancing and outsourcing, and currently, I have a portfolio of doing many jobs in more than 50 countries, and I actively hire beginner freelancers from all corners of the globe. From a perspective of Bangladesh, I am instinctively biased toward my Deshi brothers, and I try to support them from all aspects. Now, here comes the issue of education. Let me clear the facts about the general education system of Bangladesh, and then I will cite the problems. Usually, higher education is a 4 or 5 years long course that may or may not include 1 year of mandatory internship, and a student can be eligible for it and study after the intermediate level. But, due to the local issues, lack of an educative mindset, social boundaries, and capability of affordability among students, thus the honors level is considered for whoever is willing to get higher education and has higher ambitions regardless of each student's talent, creativity, and intellectual expression. Everyone else would take a 3-year-long degree pass course that at least makes them eligible for entering the job market. You can now see where the problem is, as the major subjects for the bachelor's degree usually consist of specialized parts of various subjects like engineering, architecture, etc. The degree pass course is in that sense inferior. And thus the majority of working-class people in Bangladesh are so-called graduates of the degree course, and they are less aware and skilled in the broader specific areas. Up to date, I have received so many requests from people from all walks, and they wanted plausible opportunities as a prospector but have no higher education. When I passed the intermediate level, it was clear to me that no matter what subject I will choose and get to graduation, I must ensure thorough research about every subject's potential first. People who are in their 30s are then underrated heavily, although I have seen many of them are meritorious. I would never blame the education system that we are currently conducted in, as that is solely built upon what the Republic of Bangladesh needs. The diploma courses then were introduced, but it did not help a single bit. Recently, I was in an online freelancing marketplace where a Moroccan student seeks my attention. I am not fluent in Arabic, but I can understand the language and can translate as well as modify it. He talked to me in Arabic, thus I did not bother to text him some English here and there, but eventually, he confessed that he has no idea about the language of English. And speaking and writing it is a far cry. He asked me to show him some steps, and give him tips and techniques to flourish in a short time as a beginner freelancer. Thus I asked him many questions regarding his interest in the job, and he is a graphic designer. I was surprised to see that he is very creative and usually practices designing PC and console-based game-related logos and background. When I repeated to him why he does not learn and use English, as that would vastly improvise his way of work, he told me that his country's education system has little to no use of the language of English. I asked him why he lives so close to the European continent and still why he does not take measures for learning the language. He answered that he is not willing to. So, now you know that people do not have interest at first. When they got stuck, then they realize the mistake. I always consider the language of English as a means of communication. As it is an indispensable part of our state's education system, I would rather suggest it go towards the higher level. Now, do you need higher education? As per my previous speech, you still do not get the incentive to get yourself into higher education. But hear me out, things are not what you expect but what you need to do. Apart from the social status, it is totally needed for several reasons. Let's check them out. Higher education is meant to evaluate people to a certain level where a graduate can implement his highest potential. This education system is designed to make oneself expert in a particular subject, where he or she can show his or her best performance. The government needs expert humans who would be tasked with essential jobs, and they must be a graduate, otherwise common people are simply unable and useless for the duty. A graduate who is specialized in a specific subject is far more superior in terms of skills and capabilities than the general people. These types of people are the engine of a nation, and they decide whether progress will happen or the country will go down toward ruin. When it comes to sustaining, the higher educated people are simply the example to talk about. They can contribute to the state's economy, and their creative works inspire growth and prosperity. Usually, a graduate earns more than a typical person, and the higher educated people know how to make cash better than anybody. Anyone will be left alone in a void of true application-worthy education that is literally silly, and getting into higher education is paramount if he is to be economically free. Everyone who is not a part of this education system is simply useless, as he can only be recruited as labor. And in the upcoming decade of full automation as well as prolific use of robots means that the labor industry is also going to be out of commission soon. So, it is apparent now why you need higher education. I do not care what you are capable of. You could be highly talented, creative, and loyal. But in my office, I will certainly recruit someone who is a graduate and well-skilled. I hope that whoever is still not a graduate should rethink the situation. I would say that people who lost their initial chance of getting themselves into the higher education environment must take a deep breath and start all over again.